Hello friends, I'm Parvez and this is our first video in Python Flask web development for absolute beginners. This is our first video, and in this video I'm going to have a simple introduction to Flask and how you can install Flask, and also we are going to create our first Hello World web page web application in Flask. So now first of all, what is Flask? Now Flask, as you know, there are a lot of web frameworks in Python programming language. For example, we have Pyramid, we have Django. Now Django is the popular web framework in Python programming language. Also Flask is a popular web framework in Python. If you compare Flask with another web frameworks like Django, Flask is a micro framework in Python programming language for web development, and Flask is simple and easy framework. If you're familiar with Django framework, Django is a little complex. Even though Django provides us admin panel that we can use, there is no admin panel in Flask, but Django is complex. Now Flask is so easy and simple. Also, it's a light framework for web development. Flask just implements the core functionality, including routing, but more advanced functionality in Flask like authentication and Database ORMS. For those, Flask uses extensions. For example, if we want to database ORM functionality in our web application, then for that we can use SqlAlchemy extension. Now this was a simple introduction for Flask. For installing, you can just open your command cmd, and you can simply write pip install Flask and it will be installed. Now I'm going to open my PyCharm IDE and we are going to start our coding and create our first web application in Flask. Okay guys, now if you want to install, you can simply install pip install Flask and it will be installed. Now I have created a new Python file at mfapp.py. The first thing you need to import this. So from Flask, import Flask. Okay, now we have imported this. Now after this, we need to create the object of the Flask. So I call it Flask, and I give the underscore name in here. So after creating the object of the Flask, we need to create there's a concept of view function and routing in Flask. For this, Flask uses Python decorators, so you can simply write at app.route. Now this is and here you can give your URL. So for this I'm going to give it the index, and after this I'm going to create my view function. So this is my index. You can give it whatever you want, but I give it index. There's no problem. Now in index you can do, for example, you can do a lot of stuff. So you can render your HTML template, but in here I'm going to just return hello Flask web application. Now after this, let me create underscore name, and now you need to run your application. After running in here, you need to give a debug to true. So this is just for development, and if you want to a production level application, then you need to off this. For right now, because we are in development mode, we need to true this. Now let me just run this. You can run this by two ways. So let me show you the first way. You can just right click in PyCharm IDE and you can run app. Now you can see the debug mode is on. Okay, this is you can see the debugger pane and running on this 5000 port, and this is the local host. Now if I click on this, you can see it will directly open our Mozilla Firefox, and now I'm waiting for this. Okay, now you can see that this is the port number, our 5000 port, and this is our first Hello Flask web application. Now you can change this port if you want. Let me show you. For example, I want to change the port number to port 5001. Okay, now if I run this again, okay, now if I click on my this, and this time you can see that the port number is 5001. So and if you're using PyCharm ID, also you can use the terminal for running your Flask applications. So let me just close all of them. So close all, terminate. Okay, now you can open your terminal in here. So let me bring this terminal to the right. Okay, now this is my terminal. You can simply write Python, and you can give your application name, so app.py. Now if I run this, restarting, and now you can see that this is my port number, and you can copy this and you can paste this in here. Now you can see that this is the same result. So thank you guys. If you have any question, please let me know, and for the further videos please subscribe to my channel.